Hello, I'm Joyce Woodworth. Welcome to the Spirit of Winona. Fashions have been important to humans since time began. Not only are the clothes we wear a reflection of our mood and our activity, but fashions are also seen as a reflection of society's moods as well. This outfit I am wearing, for instance, is from 1910. It may have been worn to church or perhaps for a croquet game in the backyard. Society was out of the dark mood of the Victorian era. Women were freer and wanted lighter, less restrictive clothing. However, they were not as daring as the flapper era coming up, which is indicated in the covered from head to toe look. In 1985, Martha Sorum and I put together a history of Winona's fashions, starting with the Victorian period. Let's take a look and see how fashions reflected the spirit of Winona since that time.
Before the 1900s, fashions were dictated by the European courts. Queen Victoria was in mourning. The moral code was strict and prudish, and therefore the clothing of the time was dark and dreary. The bustle was worn and fabric flowed from head to toe. In 1860, Winona's female population were practical women struggling with their daily chores. They wore cotton dresses with openings at the sides for nursing, aprons and bonnets, and they didn't have time to view the fashion plates from Paris. By the end of the century, things picked up a bit for most Winona women, and dress shops began opening on 3rd Street. Joyce Conboy models a dress from Modeste Tailors in Winona. She dons a hat with ostrich plumes and a black circle wrap. She carries a flirtatious fan, which says, "You may kiss me," as she waves it in front of her lips. Women were becoming more daring. New dyes were being perfected, and colors were becoming lighter. Cheryl Miller models Mrs. Prentice's pink and green corded silk gown from Paris, and Mark Peterson wears the men's formal dress of the day with top hat and cane. Some dressmakers came to the home and put together the whole look, which was tall. Notice the high hat with a plume. The dress is polka dot, and the model drapes a manatia over her arms. The man was a more practical dresser. He bought a one-time wedding suit with derby and spats, wore it at funerals and weddings, and saved it for his own funeral. Therefore, these suits are very hard to find. As 1900 rolled around, Winona's women were becoming emancipated. They began biking and playing tennis, and some even took clerking jobs along with the men. The dress became casual. Shirt-waist blouses with a Lego mutton sleeves and a dark skirt. Straw hats were worn by women as well as the men. The second part of the history of fashions in Winona will air on the next segment. I'm Joyce Woodworth. Till then, enjoy the spirit of Winona. Hello, I'm Joyce Woodworth. Welcome to the Spirit of Winona and the second part of the history of fashions in Winona. We have seen how men and women dressed prior to 1900, and we will now explore how women gain their freedom and how that is evident in the clothes they wear, with the exception of the first outfit we see. There was a 4-year period during this time when women wore the dumbest outfit imaginable. It was the hobble dress, which was very tight at the ankles and forced the woman to hobble down the street. And on top of her head was the largest and heaviest hat worn in any other period of history. Ironically, this restrictive clothing was worn when women were trying to get the vote. By 1910, the skirt was shortened and the fabrics became lighter. Parasols were commonly used during the day. The automobile was invented and women needed more practical clothing. The smaller toe cap was introduced. The tango also influenced the look which Donna Peterson models. Notice the choker around her neck and the slinky fabric of the dress. World War I totally ended the Victorian era and women began to rebel. They wanted less confining dresses and they wanted to learn how to shimmy. It was the Roaring '20s. Socialites and theater women determined fashions at this time rather than European royalty. People like Greta Garbo and Zelda Fitzgerald set the trends. Waistlines began to disappear and hats were pulled down over the eyes. Ankles were shown and see-through fabrics were introduced. The evening dresses of the 20s were simply cut and elegant, generally with hand-sewn beads in artistic designs and definitely above the ankle. Headbands were worn, and long shawls and beaded handbags were typical. Long beads adorned the neck. Susan Wernz portrays the true flapper. Women were openly flaunting their freedom. The hemline is moving up to above the knee, and the neckline drops to a low-cut V in the front and the back. The stockings become flesh-colored, and the women openly smoke. They even create a new walk, a slouched devil-may-care saunter. Oh, it was a fun period. Gowns were heavily beaded and feathers became popular. Notice the feather at her hip and the feather boa she flippantly swings around. A token curl is spit-coiled in the front of her flamboyant headband. The look is definitely party time and carefree. The men's evening wear is the Noel Coward look, with a black tuxedo and a felt derby hat on the head. At this time, the raccoon coat becomes popular with the college men. Please join us on the next segment of the History of Fashions in Winona, when we will discover what happens to fashions after the Roaring '20s. I'm Joyce Woodworth. Till then, enjoy the Spirit of Winona. Hello, I'm Joyce Woodworth. Welcome to the Spirit of Winona and the third part of the History of Fashions in Winona. We have seen how fashions are reflections of society's moods. We have gone from the prudish dress of the Victorian era to the racy look of the flapper era. By 1928, the economy began a severe depression. The drooping chemise was introduced, which seemed to epitomize the drooping spirits of the population. Synthetic fabrics also entered the fashion world at this time. Cloche straw hats were popular, along with short gloves. In the 30s, the economy began to pick up, and so did women's spirits. Fabrics became lighter, chiffon was layered over satin, and industry discovered how to print floral designs into the fabric. Yours truly models the sassy look of the 30s. By 1936, sealskin coats were popular and sun tanning was in. Therefore, for the first time, women needed to expose their backs. Long gowns were popular again, and the color of the day was a combination of rose and prune. The very chic thing to do was tie a choker around the neck with a big flower at the front. Kathy Benke models the look of the war years. Marlene Dietrich or the Duchess of Windsor may have worn a black fedora hat such as this. This is the day look, a plaid suit with a clutch purse and a silk satin overblouse. Zippers were used for the first time, and wardrobes were small because of the economy. Linda Anderson models the evening dress of the 40s. The long coat with an embroidered collar was popular, and shoulder pads were introduced. Linda's skirt is an exception to the 40s dress, however, because of its fullness. Fabric at this time had to be economized because of it being wartime. Linda's hair is the typical style of the 40s. This is the look of the day when the men came back from World War II. Women wore the short Chesterfield coat and the sailor hat. The shoes were medium-heeled sandals. The checkered suit was very popular, and a clutch purse and gloves were always used. Men were snappy dressers as well. The double-breasted suit was popular with a wide flamboyant tie. The fedora hat was always worn with it cocked over one eye. The war was over. Women had more freedom. Men and women were on more of an even keel than any previous time in history, and it was the beginning of the baby boom. the late 40s, the economy was good. Women generally did not work outside the home, but they did enjoy playing bridge and joining clubs. This is the look of that woman. The knee-length skirt with a bow at the back, the padded shoulders, the chick hat, the arm purse, and the gloves. She is ready to spend the day with her lady friends. Please join us on the next and last segment of the History of Fashions when we explore the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. I'm Joyce Woodworth. Till then, enjoy the Spirit of Winona. Hello, I'm Joyce Woodworth. Welcome to the Spirit of Winona and the fourth part of History of Fashions in Winona. In the last part, we covered fashions from the Depression, which was the time of the chemise, to the late 40s, which was the padded shoulder look. This may also have been the look of the woman in downtown Winona shopping for the day. However, if she decided to take a trip to Minneapolis for more serious shopping, she may have added a more sophisticated look, the gabardine coat and sailor hat over a suit with a tie at the neck. Women's fashions in the 50s became more feminine. Shoulder pads were thrown out and scoop necklines were in. Kathy Peterson models the cocktail dress of the early 50s. The black dress has a bustle effect at the back. Notice the veiled hat and the very feminine shoes she wears. Susan Wernz models the fashion of every high school girl in the 50s. The classic poodle skirt with a sweater button down the back, a strand of pearls at the neck, and flats and anklets on her feet. The sack dress made a very brief appearance in the mid-50s. It lasted about a year, probably because it was rather a silly look. There was no waistline to this dress, and women generally wore flat hats on their heads. The evening gown of the 50s was very elegant, low cut with the shoulders totally bared, generally with a matching stole to play around with. It could be draped around either shoulder and flowing at the back. To the chagrin of parents, every high school girl going to the prom wanted one. The knit two-piece dress became popular in the late 50s. It had a pleated skirt, and the top was a button cardigan with rhinestones embroidered in a flowered pattern. The only way to shorten the skirt was to unravel the hem. Usually, a velvet hat was worn. In the late 50s, the Merry Widow corset and the hoop slip returned. The evening gown over it was strapless and lacy. Elbow-length gloves added to this feminine look. The 60s began an era of social change. Equality of women became the chant of the day. In the fashion world, women threw away their hats, shortened their skirts, and wore high boots. Hot pants, Nehru jackets, and leisure suits made their brief appearances. The pantsuit for women became very popular in the 70s. The long skirt was worn in the daytime as well as the evening, and fancy evening wear highlighted the pantsuit. It was the era of acceptance.
Over the next few segments on the Spirit of Winona, I will share other fashion stories with you. We will see prom fashions, bridal fashions, and current new millennium fashions. In the fall, I will update you on fall and school fashions and birthday ball fashions. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joyce Woodworth. Till next time, enjoy the Spirit of Winona. Hello, I'm Joyce Woodworth. Welcome to the Spirit of Winona. The senior prom is one of the most magical nights in a girl or boy's life. It's also one of the first nights in a parent's life where they look at their child and see a woman or a man. Prom fashions are a big part of this special occasion. Today we're going to meet 4 lovely high school girls and find out about their prom dresses and find out what went on at the prom.
Welcome to the Spirit of Winona, girls. I'm sitting with 4 lovely high school girls that just attended their proms. And we have Crystal Johnson here and Ashley Meyer from Cotter Senior High School. And we have Emily Bowman and Melissa Flom from Winona Senior High School. and they're going to tell us what the prom was like. But first, let's talk about your beautiful dresses.
Loved the color of my dress. I've always liked blue, and this was very, very true cobalt blue, and it just was very striking, yet sophisticated and simple looking, and I loved it right from the very beginning.
Melissa truly sparkles in her lovely prom gown. She wears a blue and white rhinestone necklace and bracelet, and her satin cobalt blue dress is sprinkled with soft blue rhinestones at the bust line. The dress is a straight cut with a slit to mid-thigh at the side.
The color of my dress, I was looking all around all the stores for this color of dress, and I never found one that actually fit me right. And finally, I came across this one in the last store, and I had to have it.
Emily's endearing smile brings out the true elegance of her pale green strapless prom gown. The full skirt drapes nicely to the floor, and the bust line has green embroidered silver tubed beadwork in a flowing vine pattern. Ashley, what attracted you to your beautiful dress?
It was probably the color. I was looking for a pink dress, sorta, and it was one of the first ones I tried on, and it was just like, wow, I really liked how it was straight and it had the train in the back with the knot. I liked it a lot.
Ashley's happy nature comes alive in her beautiful prom gown. Jessica McClintock is the designer of this dress. It is a coral satin with a corseted top, a new design of the new millennium. It has a straight skirt with a train attached. The train flows to the floor and is gathered in a beautiful bow at mid-length. This color certainly fits Ashley's nature.
How about you, Crystal? What attracted you to your dress?
I like the color and the sparkly. I've had a simple dress before, and I wanted something more elegant, more showy, I guess, and I really liked it.
Crystal looks angelic and beautiful in her prom gown. The baby blue satin dress has the latest in fashion corseted top with a shiny thread embroidered throughout. The full skirt has a layer of sparkle chiffon over satin. The sparkle of Crystal's dress is only surpassed by the sparkle in her eyes.
Are the dresses different than they have been in the past?
Very, yeah, I think so.
How are they different this year?
More fancy and
Showy.
Yeah.
Yes,
They're very
the colors
showy.
were more striking.
The girls decided the average cost of their dresses was $180. Please join us on our second part of the prom when we see just how fancy the dress at the Winona Senior High and Cotter proms was. I'm Joyce Woodworth. Till then, enjoy the Spirit of Winona. Hello, I'm Joyce Woodworth. Welcome to the Spirit of Winona and the second part of prom fashions. We have found out in the first part that this year's prom fashions were much fancier than in previous years. Let's take a look. At both Winona Senior High and Cotter's proms, fancy was definitely the mode of fashion. Dresses were elegant, and the tuxes were with it. Everyone smiled, the girls were beautiful, and the boys were handsome. Slinky gowns were worn, and the tuxes varied. Cotter's prom queen, Sarah Merrick, sparkled, as well as did all the other girls. Long gloves and white bow ties were worn. The colors were lovely and enhanced by lots of rhinestones and jet beads and sparkle threads. The gowns were floor length, and the girls wore corsages at their wrists. The corset top and full skirt was very popular, and a simple stud adorned many of the necklines of the tuxedos. Strapless gowns were also very popular. Many of the girls came in groups for a girls' night out and left their dates at home. Throwback scarves were worn and low-cut styles were in. Flowers in the hair added to the fanciness of the upswept hairstyles. Backless and strapless was the order of the night. Smiles and happiness abounded. Two-piece gowns were a new feature at this year's prom, and the look was elegant. Walking canes made an appearance this year, as did feather boas, and topped off with a long-coated tux and a fedora. Fancy and elegant would definitely be the way to describe this year's prom fashions in Winona. This has been Joyce Woodworth. Please join us on the third and final part of my series on Winona's proms. Till then, enjoy the spirit of Winona. Hello, I'm Joyce Woodworth. Welcome to the Spirit of Winona and the third and final part of Winona's proms. We have discovered that Cotter and Winona Senior High proms in the year 2000 were fancier than ever. I am presently talking with Crystal Johnson and Ashley Myers from Cotter and Emily Bowman and Melissa Flom from Winona Senior High Schools. They are going to give us some insight as to what went on the day of the prom.
Like, what is getting ready for the prom like?
That's one of the best
but
parts.
fun.
It could be a good time or a bad time depending on your hair, your makeup, and friends getting all stressed out about it.
Oh, yes.
My friend always starts to cry because she doesn't think anything's perfect, and I always have to calm her down, but it's fun overall.
Is it still tradition for the boy to ask the girl to the prom?
Yeah,
yeah.
sort of, yeah. There's an occasional girl asking the guy.
And who pays?
Actually, I split this year.
Tell me about the magical night.
I thought of the idea of going on a dinner river cruise. Looked into it down in La Crosse on the La Crosse Queen. There's a pizza cruise on there. And we all liked pizza.
We all go to this big hall, and there's tablecloths and candles, and it's really nice, and it's catered, and so you can eat with our friends, and everything's included.
So you have dinner, then you have pictures, and then what happens?
Dance.
The
And
dance.
we take pictures there professionally, and that's really nice. You have to wait in line, but it's fun part. With your date or with friends. We have a group picture with our friends.
We have that also.
What about the decorations at the prom? What were they like?
Very nice. I heard about theirs, and I was like, whoa! But I mean, ours are good. Good enough.
Well, it's the junior class that sponsors it at the high school. Do they do that?
Yeah.
Great decorations. We had a big, huge volcano. It was a Hawaiian theme. It was something paradise, tropical paradise. And we had a big waterfall in one corner and little tiki huts all over and tropical flowers. And it was really nice. It was very nice.
We all got lays when we came in.
Yeah, that was cool. I liked that part too.
What happens at your after-ball party?
Go ahead.
Actually, ours it's kind of neat. You walk in and they hand you. Well, first they actually took our pictures on a bridge, which was nice, and they gave us each couple a picture that said Post Prom 2000 in a picture frame. And then we took the money and you could gamble because we had tons of prizes. We had TVs, DVD players, and it was all kind of like you had fake money, but you could buy it with the fake money or win it. And so you did that for a couple hours. We had like some. What do you call it? Jousting things?
Yeah, there's stuff set up in the gym.
Like
big maze.
A maze to go in.
It was very fun.
And then at 2 o'clock we had a hypnotist, and that was for about 2 hours. And it's really neat because you see your friends going up there and they're making fools out of themselves, and it's fun.
Give me an example of what your funnest experience was the whole evening.
Okay.
My date thought it was very funny to get 3 plates of food and be the person that ate the most at the
And you're
prom.
only supposed to get one.
Yeah, you're supposed to have 1 plate. He took 3.
And the teacher comes over.
Yeah, we had a teacher come over to the table and ask him, "Are you supposed to be taking that much?" And he's like, "I'm gonna eat it." So he had to eat everything on his plate.
And then he passes. He's like, "This is Crystal's."
Yeah, he
shows the plates over there.
He didn't eat all the plates, but it was a fun time.
What will be the memory that you treasure from your prom?
One thing that will stick out in my mind is when I was dancing to one of the slow songs with my boyfriend, and I looked behind him and I as we were turning, as we were dancing, I could see everyone else dancing and just totally in the moment of prom. Everyone was just having the time of their lives right then.
This has been Joyce Woodworth on the Spirit of Winona. Please join us on the next segment when we do another series on fashions.